Welcome. In this video, we'll explore the essential hand tools used in construction projects, especially for bcat projects, level 1s and level 2. Whether you are a beginner or looking to improve your skills, understanding these tools is vital for safety and success. While power tools are useful, hand tools are the backbone of many trades. They give you a tactile feel for the material, helping you work more accurately and safely. In your training, you will be assessed through practical tasks and written work. You will need to identify, describe, select, use, and care for hand tools during your bcats projects. For example, this video is about the unit 12927. So it's about hand tools, care and maintenance. This is the first project that level 1s of bcats do at the workshop. This is the beer box made out of plywood using hand tools. So what tools do we use to start this project? What tools do we use to start marking the pieces? So I will show you briefly how to mark the pieces. For example, we need a tape measure. Let's say we need to cut this piece 250. We do the marking. And what tool do we need to draw a line across? 90 degrees. So we can use the tri-square. Tri-square, we can mark the pieces, draw lines, and now our piece is ready for cutting. So what would be an alternative tool instead of the tri-square? Well, we can use also the combination square. The combination square also we can mark 90 degrees and do exactly the same marking. Also, the combination square we can mark 45 degrees, the same as the tri-square, 45 degrees. So when the assessment comes and asks you what tools do you use for marking, I use the tri-square and an alternative tool, combination square. So now the piece is ready for cutting. So what's the next step? So we clamp down our piece using the clamp, metal clamp. And now, what tool do we use for cutting? Well, we can use a panel saw. Panel saw for cut my pieces of the project. What would be an alternative tool instead of the panel saw? Well, we can use the tenon saw. Also can be used for cutting our pieces because our pieces of the project are not too big, are small pieces. Okay, so we can use tenon saw as an alternative. So let's say that we cut our pieces and we need to smooth the edges. What tool can we use for smoothing our edges? Well, we can use the smoothing plane. So in this way we can smooth our pieces with the smoothing plane. What would be an alternative to the smoothing planer? So we can use the block planer because we're working with small pieces. This also can be used as an alternative tool instead of the smoothing planer. So let's say that we need to find this angle. As you can see, the back of the beer box is shorter than the front. So it's on an angle. So what tool can we use to copy this angle, to transfer the angle to our pieces? Well, we can use the sliding bevel. sliding bevel, we use it to copy the angles. Yeah, we copy the angle and then we transfer the angle to the piece. So we can mark our piece, complete the line with the steel ruler, and now we found our angle for our size of the beer box. What would be an alternative tool if we don't have the sliding bevel? Well, if we have it, you can use also the digital angle finder. With the digital angle finder, we also can use the same exactly work and find the angle and also tell us the degrees. So now we can come to the piece and see exactly the same angle. So what would be an alternative tool to the sliding bevel? Digital angle finder. So as you remember, we were marking our pieces at the beginning. We used the tape measure. What would be an alternative tool to the tape measure? Well, it can be the steel ruler. We can also use the steel ruler to mark our pieces using the carpenter pencil. If we don't have the tape measure, we can also use the steel ruler. So now let's move on to another example. Let's say that we are practicing joints. These are some of the joints our level 1 and level 2 are going to do at the workshop. So let's say that we are working on joints. What tools do we use to start this joint? Well, we use panel saw to cut the sides and to cut in the middle. After that, we use hammer, and also we use the chisel to chisel out our pieces, even smoothing and even the surface of the joint. So what would be an alternative tool to the chisel when we are smoothing the sides and the center? So we also can use the rasp file, or in another places it's called the saw file, to smooth the surface of the joints. So what would be an alternative to the chisel? Rasp file or saw file. Remember one thing very important: always we need to wear glasses. We are going to work at the workshop. Glasses, high vis, steel boots, and earmuffs. Wear PPE all times at the workshop. Even at the assessment, they will ask you, what PPE did you use at the workshop? So you can name all these PPE, because it's essential to wear it at the workshop. So what care and maintenance can we do for these tools? As you can see at the back, how are they stored? You see the chisels, how we store the panel saws against the wall, hanging at the wall. Tenon saw, the blade is not touching any surface. How do we store our hammers? As you can see, the combination squares against the wall. And another tool that I want to mention is the pincers and the pliers. They say that we are nailing our project at the workshop, but one of the nails is bended. How are we going to pull it out? So we can use the claw at the back of the hammer, or we can use the pincers or the pliers. So when the assessment comes and asks you a question, what tool do you use to pull out the nails of the project? I use the pincers, and an alternative tool, the pliers. So these are a few examples that you can have to remember when the assessment comes and put in practice in your daily life when you are working on sites. So I hope this video can help you a lot and to understand what care, maintenance, and use of the manual tools. So I see you in the next video. Thank you.